Ah. Sometimes I wonder why I still bother. I can surely afford to retire, leave the businesses to trusted colleagues. Even if they make enough to only break even, I have enough money to last us a lifetime or 3. I could send 7 children to college if I had any. Not that I plan to. Yep, we've read this, but we will continue. I don't want to retire and suddenly wake up and have everything gone down the shitter. Maybe I should hire McCullough as a personal assistant. She seems capable and trustworthy enough. Yeah, we have heard this.
Christ, I'm knackered. Who do I have to kill to have fewer problems around here?
I'm not really... we will wait. Just listen to the music. I'll accept no distractions. I call up Shrunken for a sandwich. Got a suitcase filled with contracts to check over and sign before I can retire for the night. I'm also waiting for a call from Suarez on any new updates from the IT leaks, a real cause for concern. Yes, I have... Oops. I have, heard. I have read of this stiff. Yes, far too long. 3 years. Passive role. And mitigate favors. Puppeteer. Law enforcement. Trouble. Powers. Unpredictable. Exit. Balance. We have read this, so we will ignore this. Computer. Jump. Okay, I think this is where we end off. Before I can even take a step into the study... Oh, wait, no. We've gone through this.
Luke, darling, you're finally home.
Skip. Yes. Can we continue with this?
Chin up and smile. You'll get wrinkles frowning like that. And beauty sleep helps.
Of course, my prince. I suppose I can do with this. Whatever do you mean?
Oh,
That old thing. It's somewhere in the vanity drawer, I think.
And to be so
What?
aloof
But
about
wasn't
it.
that from your father?
It was a priceless heirloom, to be exact, handed down from one generation of Evans to the next, whether it be to a wife or a daughter. I know that Hannah treasures it so, especially after it was given to her with her own mother's passing. Then what is with that ugly thing dangling around her neck? Looks more like a choking hazard than anything.
It was, of course it was. I just thought a change would be nice.
I don't think I've seen her wear anything else in its place. A change it is, but not an entirely welcome one at that.
I see. I suppose that makes sense. Well, not that it matters, but I like the old necklace better. At the very least, we can have it cleaned and polished while you're not wearing it. Remind me to have that done in the morning.
Whatever you wish, my prince.
Right. You have a good night then, Buttercup.
With a shake of my head, I don't waste any more time than I've already done. Heavy suitcase in hand, I head straight into the study and dive right into the contracts. There's a whole stack of them too, mostly to do with property management. Nonetheless, careful work needs to be put into them as with everything else. My attorneys have always checked them over, but I like to be precise. I'm not going to sign if there's even a single line I do not like. It's a long way into the night when a coldness envelops the room. I suspect at first that it's merely just the usual chill. But the heaters have been turned on as the strange sunny weather that's been gracing us as of late has come to an end. The door is barely open, just by a crack, though I shut it in case that might help. Satisfied, though not as much as I would have liked, the room still feels freezing. I make my way back to the mess of documents waiting for me at the table. Just a few more and I can get that well-deserved rest, get out of this place and dive into warm comforts of my bed. Then maybe if Hannah's still up for it, well, it's more than enough motivation. Parking my rear back on the chair, I begin my work with the last of the blasted papers, more than ready to be done with everything and turn in for the night. Only for another chill to startle me to a stop. And that's when I feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. Eyes boring at the back of my head, a brush of air just at the nape, and when I glance back, reflected in the lone portrait of the room, someone stands behind me, just by the study door I closed moments ago. Perhaps it is Hannah trying to be sneaky, or Shrokin being a bellend as a
Do
spook.
I really have to ask people to knock before they enter? Seriously now, this is anarchy, and I'll have you know...
I turn, but there's nothing.
Huh. Must have been a trick of the light. Oh, it is getting late, and I should really go to bed myself. Just have to finish looking over a few more contracts, and...
Yes, just finish signing these and I can have some rest. Maybe arrange for a day off in the morning. Sighing, I steel myself for a long night of dry paperwork. Still, the feeling that I'm being watched stays with me all through the night. October 30th, Sunday. And with the sun rising comes another disturbance. Oh, both too loud and too sharp for my tastes. It's Zach, isn't it? I have very fine taste. When the piercing rings of a doorbell reaches even the study, I'm very much inclined to think the person who built this place lacks any sense of it. Perhaps the only thing good in this is that the ruckus has chased away the needling guilt from last night's commotion, if only temporarily. Still, it's a bloody, annoying distraction. I can tell already that it's going to be a long day. It hasn't even started. Before the racket even lasts another minute, I'm peeling myself off the chair and heading straight for the main door. There will be a murder today if this doesn't let up. How quaint. It seems everything in this blessed universe is intent on getting in my nerves as of late.
Gordon Bennett! Only a Nancy would knock at such an ungodly hour!
In the first place, I shouldn't be the one doing this. This is why I hired a valet, for fuck's sake.
Where's that damn butler when I need him?
I'll be honest, if only for today. With the mansion this quiet at this hour of the morning, it's easy to believe those little ghost stories might be real. But the only horror here is how odd my own wife has been acting as of late. There's no place for fear when another set of problems already burns that fuel. So I wait for another second. When no butler still answers my call, I simply yank the doors open myself, perhaps with more force than needed. And maybe it should be appropriately there, considering the person on the other side and the hour he dared appear on my doorstep, even when someone with half a brain knows not to disturb anyone this early. Brief confusion quickly gives way to anger, and before the bloody photographer can even get in a word, I'm hurling venom at him. It's less than he deserves, really. Hannah will disapprove, scald me for treating the man with such disrespect if she hears me right now. She seems fond of him, after all, treats him like a friend she's known for years. But she's not here, isn't she?
You!
But she doesn't know.
Again! It's bloody 6 in the morning! What the hell is it now?
Listen, sir, I know this is not a good time.
Oh, it's not a good time! Did you even check the clock before coming here? I bet you didn't!
This is still my home. My rules also apply to this place as much as Hannah's do. As simple as that.
Unlike you, The ones living in this house need to sleep.
It just so happens it's also a person I will never take a liking to. No need for remorse.
Come back when people are actually awake, or I'll call security on you.
He continues shouting even as I slam the door in his face. Some nonsense about the news lately, though I don't understand most of it. However, with the closed doors muffling the better part of it and with no ears to listen, his triad doesn't last too long. But eventually he leaves, and silence once again fills the room as it should. In hindsight, maybe I should also call for a psychiatric service. He certainly sounds mental just screaming like that. A suspicious man like him left roaming the immediate grounds. Nothing good can come of it. But if his presence will indeed bring a problem, a sign of bad things to come, I'll probably know soon enough. Worst comes to worst, Shrokin will take care of it if need be. It's what I'm paying him for. In the meantime, I need rest, even for just a few hours. My lovely wife still fast asleep when I finally join her in our bed. She feels a tad bit warm to the touch too, but it's nothing to worry about, I hope. As odd as she has been acting lately, her company's nice after spending long, grueling hours going through business documents. Then again, it's not like I'd be losing out much if I take a break or two. In fact, all I have to do is say the word and Vance General Electronics stocks are going to go down. That's the least I can do after Rochelle Vance's outburst during the party. I highly doubt she will be Rochelle Lee for long, not if Harvey had any sense in him. So with a sigh, I drift off, setting aside my problems if only for a few hours. Not long into it though, perhaps only a few minutes in my mind, a knock interrupts my attempt at getting some rest. Checking the time on my phone, however, shows that it's just 8:30. Still too tired, but what can I do about it? Getting up in an entirely different problem on its own. Waking up after getting only a few hours of sleep in, it has my body stiff and sore and my mind feeling lethargic. Part of me wants to go back and doze off again, an alien feeling to me. But it's already far too late for my taste, and on the second round of knocks, I reluctantly peel myself off the bed and answer the door, only to be greeted by none other than Shrokin and his grumpy face. The sight of it is enough to dampen my own irritation, and I can only follow when he gestures towards the hallway. Okay. Continue. I have questions as to why, but going by the grim, or rather grimmer than usual air about him, the man stands there as relaxed and cool as can be, but his eyes hold an intensity that promises nothing but trouble.
I do hope I wasn't interrupting anything.
Oh, I did want sleep, but the world conspires
What
against
do you
me.
want?
If you wish to sleep so badly, feel free to tuck yourself back in bed. I thought you ought to know that we've had an intruder.
And sue me if that doesn't pique my curiosity. Intruders, thieves who dare set foot in my house to try and rob me were rare. If they had any form of experience, they'd have an idea not to mess with the rights, no matter how tempting our riches may be. But that did not mean attempted robberies did not happen. What was strange about this one is the fact that Shrokin thought it was important to bring it to my attention. Oftentimes they deal with pests because I wouldn't really care how they take care of it.
This needs my attention, why? Are they any danger?
Actually, I think I'll let you be the judge of that. He's down in the parlor. Come on.
I glance at the bedroom door, hoping to goodness that Hannah will remain fast asleep before following him downstairs. Through the foyer, and into the parlor, where a familiar man sits unconscious, tied up to one of the chairs.
I thought I heard something scurrying around. As it turns out, it's a giant rat, and one that had pretended to be a harmless mouse, too.
It's that photographer from Luxury Living. What was his name? Steele? Did they not pay the man enough with his photos that he had to resort to stealing? Of course, what other reasons are there to explain his presence? Because I went through the damn window. No doubt he has seen such finery during his little photo shoot and thought he could make off with a good amount. I wouldn't blame him, really, but it is a disappointment that he would fall so low and prove stereotypes true. Trust a black man to be a thief, after all.
And he's still alive, isn't he?
It's hard to tell with the way his body is too still, breathes too light. But it is there, the subtle rise and fall of his chest. Its presence lets me breathe a sigh of relief. A death caused by one of my men is normal, to be expected, really. A dead body I can deal with, it'll just be the one of many I've seen. But if one turns up while the missus is at home, I'm not too thrilled with the idea.
I saw no reason to do more than incapacitate him. So yes, the man is still alive. Of course, that can be remedied if you wish.
No, this is fine. He wasn't trying to kill us, was he?
If he was wholly unprepared. But I do not think he had such nefarious purposes. He is a big man, but he seems too soft to be a hired killer. A common trespasser or petty thief, maybe. Certainly nothing more.
If a petty thief dares to try anything against me, people are forgetting their place. He's to be made an example of. A guy slacks off for once and everyone thinks they can get away with taking advantage. His thieving ways is going to be his one-way ticket behind bars. It's only as my anger washes away that I realize that the sun is starting to rise off into the horizon. And I can only feel annoyance at myself for missing another night of sleep.
Call the police then. Let them round him up and bring me some bloody coffee while you're at it.
Thankfully, he leaves me to my own simmering as I take one of the free seats, and while waiting for my drink, I find myself staring at this man. I can see why Hannah took an interest in him.
I was talking with Zachary, the photographer for Luxury Living.
Hannah is nice, but that doesn't mean she befriended every John and Jane from the street.
He was a perfect gentleman, Luke. I can't say the same for you as of recent.
Look at the man you called a perfect gentleman now, dearest.
Look, Luke, nothing will happen. You have to relax. It was just a friendly chat.
A friend who takes advantage of someone who has shown them kindness. Truly, such soft hearts could not survive in this world long. Hannah is only so lucky that I am here for her. Who better to protect her from monsters than the worst of them all? Steel, that's his name, isn't it? He's big, built like a bear. I thought as much when I first saw him, more of a teddy bear rather than a grizzly, if I cared to be honest. I would have laughed in his face if he told me he was a photographer and nothing to show to prove it. Going by appearances alone, I'd say he could very well be a common street thug, the sort that I hire to be plain muscle. But the laugh lines and softness around his cheeks, just his general air, has me wondering. How long will a man like him survive in a place like prison? Not that I care, of course. I've sent weaker, spineless, and even innocent fools before the police and the courts to be punished. And as it is always done when I'm in such situation, the power I wield hits me like an unnatural height. It's something else when I can hold a man's life in my hands without resorting to murder. A person is as good as incarcerated the moment I send them Harvey's way. And this makes me wonder if I can make Luxury Living grovel beg for my forgiveness because of the crime committed against me by one of their staff. Deep in my thoughts, stuck in this power trip that rushes through me, I barely notice we have company until Stroken puts a cup of coffee in my hands.
Officer Carl and his colleague are here to collect. They'll want your statement.
And as he says, there are two officers by the door, though I can't bother to spare them the slightest a glance before looking back at the unconscious gollywog.
If they need my statement, I'll give it to their chief. I'm due a visit to a good friend anyway.
After my coffee and a bit of breakfast, of course. Once I'm done breaking my fast and after a cool shower, Hannah still slumbers. The way she remains undisturbed even with the commotion, you'll think she's somewhat contacted a sickness of some sort overnight. And true enough, the moment the back of my hand touches her forehead, she's burning up. It's unfortunate there's no time to worry about this as much as I want to care for her. There's urgent business demanding my attention elsewhere, and with the rest of the staff away, and well, our marriage may have gone through a rough patch recently, but I still do feel as if I'm neglecting her like this. It doesn't help that the only thing I can do for now is to place a cloth dipped in warm water on her forehead and leave a bottle of medicine on her bedside, and instruct Stroken to schedule an immediate appointment to her physician. I just hope that this trip to the city won't take too much of my time, or further ruin my mood. The ride to the precinct is a quiet affair. I'm in no mood for idle chatter with what little sleep I've had. Not everything is smooth sailing, however, as soon as I arrive to the precinct either. But as they say, a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. It would be more suspicious if everything had gone on without ruckus. And it would be more boring, too. Because who doesn't love a good fight and a bit of drama? There's nothing quite like beating your opponent down and making them learn who's the boss. If life just slumped over, there would be no point in even trying, but I would be much happier if the troubles life threw at me didn't include ruining my suit. Life in this case is that estate agent Lily who had the audacity to throw water at me.
You bloody...
It's been a pleasure doing business with you, sir.
Who even does that? That third world country woman who's gotten too big for her britches, that's who. This is a Seaton X5 and this whole ensemble cost me £40,000. I could charge her for water damages to the tie alone and have her begging down on her knees for my forgiveness. That Lily girl, really now, if I hadn't had that company she works with for is closing, I'd talk to her manager and have her fired. Graceful exit into the police chief's room was all I could muster in the face of such an insult. My mood is further soured by the fact that I can still see the rest of the precinct from here. At the very least, Johans is making himself useful and standing outside the door to make sure no one enters unannounced. And now, here I am, dabbing a handkerchief at my wetsuit to no avail. I have to be given to one of those maids to clean as soon as I get home. This is just horrible. The interlining is going to pucker and pull. Ugh. But at least it's not wine, I suppose.
I am so sorry about what happened out there, mate. But you know how it is with these officers. All testosterone and ranking.
Well, you need to learn how to keep your men in line better, mate. But I didn't come here to talk about these hot-headed daft villains. They could be dead from the neck up for all I care.
He has the propensity for forget one tiny detail. I own him. I want to seethe and rage, remind him who exactly the boss here is. I very well can, thanks to the wonders of soundproofing, but the stressed and nervous expression on his face stops me from giving him a tongue lashing. It would really do me no good to be at odds with me when he does prove to be a useful ally from time to time. So I listen when he speaks, focusing on the smell of coffee and cigarettes that filled the room in order to curb my tongue. For now. But boy, when you let a man like Harvey Lee speak, he speaks a lot.
Look, all I'm asking is that you be a bit patient with them. You do realize a good chunk of them don't work. They aren't with you, so to speak. Bunch of kids who think the police are superheroes or some cock and bull. They don't know how things work around here. Especially that Frey boy. The lot of them are just tired.
And why are you telling me this?
I was going to ask you if you knew anything about it. Perhaps one of yours know. There's been a string of unfortunate incidents as of late. Just recently some bloke named Christian Sy was acting all nuts. Off his rocker, that man. And we had to hold him, thought he was drunk. Up until he started bashing his brains in. Now he's a vegetable in a hospital bed. Another time, some Mark Julius was reported missing. Some are thinking we've got a serial killer on our hands as of late. That Cooper lady from BRC got done in, and a a Father Norman, too. You have to understand, mate, in a place as peaceful as Luxburn, this makes people wary. Reported crime rates go a bit higher than usual, and it makes them antsy and temperamental.
Are you implying that I have anything to do with them? Because as much as I hate to say it and admit, I am out of the loop. This is the first I've heard of these incidents.
Really, I'd say I'm insulted, but this is par for the course. Harvey knows who and what I am. We have a deal of sorts, after all. Crime is always expected in a society with laws and with humans who are allowed their free will. But why not strike a deal with the devil to make sure that the said crime has some order at least?
Ah, well, that's a shame, I suppose. Figured if we could get any leads, it'd be from you.
I can't stop the scoff that leaves me. Can these police officers really be so incompetent? The chief of the damn police force seems to find it amusing, however. Because as far as I can see, whether he believes in it or not, he's got it easy in our little deal. He just has to sit back and relax, let me do my thing, and not turn against me while he gets to live a comfy life. But perhaps that's why I haven't killed him off yet. His predecessor to the position wasn't so
someday
agreeable.
I'll stop turning in my own men when they piss me off. And what will you do then? You and your men will all be lost without me.
I'll just hope that when the time comes, I'll already be all wrinkly and retired then.
It's a play of his, it always is, to act as casual and chuckling at everything like it doesn't faze him. Pretends he's one of those kind, wise old men types so that people can't bring themselves to be angry at him. But I've seen him drunk off his R's, bemoaning his fate, what he's become, though he tries to be as vague as he can even in his inebriated state, but I've seen the malice this man is capable of. That's why it confuses me with how he reacts to what I say next.
So what is our little gollywog looking at?
Now there's never a time or place for that kind of racist talk, son.
He cuts me off in a firm tone before I can say anything further. There is steel in his eyes, and he near slams his fist on the table when he does. And I can't help but sigh, realizing that he's going through one of his self-righteous streaks, rare as they may be.
You know our little deal ties up my hands when it comes to a lot of things with you. But I hear that Steele is a good kid, and I ask you at least show a bit of respect.
He's a felon. I think I'm entitled to call him what I please. I don't owe him any respect at all.
In my pocket he may be, but he still chose the path of a policeman himself when he was a young man. And I bet it just boils his blood that he has to deal with the likes of me. But I, in turn, hate the side of him that makes him think he's still some do-gooder, some hero of justice. Because spineless fools were useful, self-righteous ones forced me to do away with them.
You put
eventually.
plenty of your own white men in jail. I don't see you calling them a, white cracker or whatever lingo they have nowadays. And if not respect, you can at least owe the lads some basic human decency.
Whatever. But if you gotta stick up your ass about it, I'll concede. He's going behind bars either way, for however long that is.
Besides, what does it matter if he's black or white? The color of his skin doesn't change anything about the current circumstances. It's a trifle matter to argue over.
It's 6 months and a fine worth 5,000 for breaking and entering. Unless you'd be willing to go easy on the guy. Let him bump it down to a misdemeanor and juvenile offense. We'll be giving him probation and charge him for the damages.
And that's it?
That's it. That's what a white man gets, and that's what he gets too. Unless you're going to stir up a fuss and make a big deal out of this.
In case you've forgotten, I do what I want, Lee. I don't even see why you protect the man. He's nothing but a petty thief.
And won't that look bad on you? The Luke Wright, getting his panties in a bunch over a petty thief. You said it yourself. He's nothing, not worth your attention or effort. So why don't you just let me handle it like I'm supposed to?
And I do hate to say it, but he's got me there. I hate that all this power comes with a great balancing act. be too lax and people will think they could get away with the smallest of things. Be too harsh and people will, well, they'll not want to work with me for long, and that's never a good thing in the long term. And it shows on me poorly if I want to fuss over such an insignificant little maggot.
Now, is that all you're here for?
Well, there is another thing I want to ask.
What? Can't I visit a friend? That detective. Feathers. Should I be concerned about him? He seemed keen.
Feathers? Oh, you mean Frey? Nah, he's not really anything to worry about. I got him assigned to your case to make the whole thing believable. The boy's a good detective, one of the best I have on the force. But he won't be able to do shit with all the red tape tying him up. In fact, the higher-ups just took him off your tail.
The case against me? I still have one? Harvey, my dear old friend, have you been slacking off? Surely I told you to take care of that sort of thing. Surely it shouldn't have taken you this long. Surely it should be quiet by now on your end. They shouldn't be assigning anything to what's supposed to be a cold case.
I doubt you've got anything to really worry about unless you go out there and announce the shit you've done. I don't want to accuse the most powerful man in Luxburn without being 100% sure about things, of course.
The way he goes about it so nonchalantly.
But it's because of that company problem Suarez's been talking about. Can't believe that's still a thing. You think the geek would have figured it out by now? He's supposed to be a computer genius. Don't go blaming me for it. He's the one slacking off if you ask me. Don't you be pointing fingers my way.
And has Suarez mentioned anything new about that?
You'd have to ask him about it. You know I don't understand half the technical computer mumbo-jumbo the guy goes on about. It's like the guy speaks a whole other language. Which, technically he does, but you know what I mean.
Yes, I suppose you have a point. Very well, if you haven't got anything else useful for me, I might as well head home. Get some bloody peace and quiet.
I could have some tea, maybe with some whiskey and a nap, and I'll be right as rain. At least one of us should get some good R&R because it's not like Harvey isn't going to get any. Especially now that his darling wife has left him. I'll be making him busy as punishment for his slacking off and for her disrespect too. Really, I pity the poor man. Maybe I should send him a gift basket, perhaps more caffeine and smokes to help him along with his bad habits. Before I can leave the precinct, however, a shoulder bumps into mine. I wait for an apology, and I wait.
Excuse me.
There's a twitch in my eye that I can't hide as I look back at the rude old bastard. Especially not when all he does is look back at me as if this is the first time he's seen me. As if he hadn't just nearly shoved me over with this big lump of a body.
You're excused.
The way he says it, the way he looks at me, it leaves me feeling so cold, and I have this gut feeling telling me I should know him. But he doesn't even let me get a word in when he disappears through a door.
A bloody wanker.
Stepping out from the chaos, I let in a breath of fresh air, or as fresh as it's going to get in a city. I do hate going to the precinct. It's a fucking zoo filled with animals, people who step in included. But it's not like the city is any better. Humans are just a higher form of animals, after all. We are all deluded ourselves into thinking otherwise. And I call up the car to take me away from it all. Though I can't bring myself to step inside the house when I do get home. Hannah still rests, I assume. I hear nothing to say otherwise. Not her voice or her laughter, which will easily fill any space with cheer. Everything is quiet, other than the hum of engines from the car being brought away. A bird's cry sounds off from the garden, snapping me out of my reverie, and makes me look in that direction. It's an easy decision to go there. If Hannah is resting, recovering from sickness, I don't want to disturb her with how agitated and annoyed I am underneath the surface, no matter how well hidden I can keep it. Not to mention, I've been neglecting the garden for too long. Might as well stay put out here for the time being. Gray skies loom over the horizon through the sun, It'll rain again soon, with the wind bringing along the gloomy clouds normal to Luxborn. I walk to the gardens, what little of it there is at the moment anyways, and kneel by the daffodils. These were the first to be brought here and planted on my request, and if nothing else, they brought in a sense of peace. They were Mother's favorites. Closing my eyes, I lift my chin up to welcome the light that shines upon me. And for a minute I can imagine myself as one of the flowers, peaceful, blooming, and all too happy to stand in its warmth. Life would be much easier if we were all like flowers, wouldn't it? But I didn't step out here to get all philosophical and have problems much more practical than figuring out the meaning of life after all. Too many things have gone on these past few days, and I want to forget about them,
It's
even
almost
for
all
just a
saints,
moment.
isn't it? To think I've almost forgotten.
I speak the words absent-mindedly. The date means nothing to me, as I neither worship the religion nor have any graves to visit. After all, Mother was never given a proper burial. But it's a date as good as any for me to grieve. Otherwise, I would have done so every single day, crippling myself and shutting everyone else out. I can remember how the flames looked at her flesh and how it consumed her body until there was nothing left but ash. I stood there watching with the operator and a social service worker, though I could have been alone for all I cared. I felt alone. It was the most that could be done. No one would attend the funeral of a dead prostitute, let alone pay for it. All that is left of her, proof that she had lived, is her name written in the ledger of Luxborn Cemetery, a lighter, and me. Pulling out the lighter from my jacket, I can't stop myself from flicking it open to stare at the flame and run my thumb over her name. All in all, it isn't much, but it's something. And it'll be wrong of me not to make something of myself when she could have given me everything to make sure I can become
Feels like
anything I
I'm
want to
stuck
be.
in a nightmare right now. What I would give to have you here by my side, Mother dear. To see you smiling at me. Alive and as beautiful as ever. I'm afraid I'm starting to forget what your face looks like. I've already forgotten the shade of your hair.
Eleanor Chandler was a wonderful woman, though not everyone would have agreed. Not everyone had seen her past occupation, past her vices, and her illness. All they saw was a poor woman who sold her body to make ends meet, and had a bastard son because of it. They didn't see the mother who worked hard to put food on the table for me, the woman who gave and gave and gave to me while expecting nothing in return. She taught me the merits of hard work, but though I loved her so, I worked hard for myself. I would not be so foolish, so selfless towards people who would never give back. I learned that from the father who plucked me out of an orphanage from its own selfish gain. I pocket the lighter before I could feel the urge to actually set anything ablaze. Considering my close proximity to the flowers, they would be most likely the victim of arson. Just the thought itself is blasphemous. Nevertheless, that doesn't save them from being picked, just enough to make a bouquet of things in honor of Eleanor.
Would you be proud of me if you saw me now, Mother? Maybe. You're always so forgiving. No matter what trouble I got into, more than I deserved. Especially now.
It's been a while since I've talked to my mother like this. They say that even when our loved ones have passed on, they still watch over us. Though I believe in neither a heaven nor a hell, a hopeful part of me wishes it were true, as ridiculous as the idea is. I can't help but grow still, a chill going up my spine when I do feel eyes upon me. For a while I think I'm imagining it, but I'm all too familiar with the sensation of being watched. Carefully I scan my surroundings, doing my best not to give away the fact that I'm aware of their presence, whoever they are. But there's not a soul in sight on the field surrounding the mansion. Yet there on the balcony overlooking the garden, she stands there, and though I cannot see her face, a servant is one judged by her clothing. The woman gives off a rabid air and simply did not belong with her surroundings. This isn't what worries me, though. What worries me is that she isn't one of ours. She can't be. Obvious signs of being tattered and dirty stayed aside. There shouldn't be anyone else in the mansion aside from the three of us. And that's the balcony that leads to our bedroom. Forget pretending that I don't notice her.
You! What are you doing there? You're not supposed to be there!
It's a stupid thing to do, I realize in hindsight, but calling attention to it was a spur-of-the-moment plan. From the height, there's no way she would have jumped off the balcony, and perhaps she would have only been able to sneak in there because Hannah is asleep. Calling out to her would wake Hannah, and at the very least call Johann attention to the matter at hand. I dread to think of any other way she could have gotten there without Hannah calling for us. The woman on the balcony doesn't react, barely even stirs. Probably drug-addled or touched in the head, though that begs the question of how she even managed to get in there. That changes nothing, of course, and doesn't stop me from running back to the mansion.
Shrokin! There's an intruder! In the bedroom! Upstairs! Secure Hannah immediately!
Bursting in through the front doors, I'm greeted by Johannes with a kitchen knife in his hands, looking wary and alert. There's a question on his lips for a moment, but he's quick to fall into place, giving me a curt nod before we rush up the foyer stairs that woman would need to go through us to get anywhere. Between me and the butler, there's no way she's getting away. There's no announcing ourselves as I slam the bedroom door open, expecting to see the worst inside. When we find Hannah simply seated at her vanity without a care in the world, my relief can't be any greater. Don't even question if she's well enough to be moving around yet. But that is soon followed by suspicion and caution. Without a word, I signal for Johannes to search the room for the intruder, even going so far as to slipping into the second bedroom. She couldn't have gone anywhere else, not without getting our attention, not without Hannah noticing. It isn't too far-fetched to think that she may have been coerced to act like nothing is out of the ordinary. If she's being forced to do this, she would be able to tell me without alerting the criminal. We should be ready for such things, after all, being the wealthy, powerful, and influential people that we are. And though I hesitate to break her peace, to make her worry anymore that she has the right to be, I know the matters of safety shouldn't be taken so lightly. Even if I could just content myself and just watching.
Are you alright, Hannah?
There's a moment of silence as she fastens a cord around her neck, and with her back still turned to me, she replies as calmly as can be.
Of course I am. Why wouldn't I be? Is there something wrong?
There is no sign of coercion or deceit. She gives none. Everything looks fine, seems fine. Hannah says as much. Stepping out on the balcony doesn't say anything differently. The outside is devoid of signs of any other human life, with how secluded the property is. Though it is hard to be sure of how the sun has set, trying to locate anyone on a large property by myself would be futile. Whether it is the truth or a convenient lie, one can only assume that everything is all right. And even Johannes is in agreement.
There's nobody in the second bedroom or in the closet. It's all clear.
Yet I can't fight off the awful feeling that has taken over me.
Are you sure? Nobody? Double check. Triple check everything. Check the whole house if you have to.
What's going on? What is all this then?
He claims to have seen an intruder standing on your balcony. Did you notice anyone here, madam?
No, it's just been me. I've not heard or seen anybody else aside from the two of you all day. Strange.
The others have been given the day off. There shouldn't be anybody else here. Are you sure of what you saw? Perhaps you were...
Yes, I bloody well am sure of what I saw. There was a woman standing there, dark hair and in servant's clothing. Are you insinuating that I am making things up? That I'm going mad? Because if you are, I don't care how competent you've been. I won't have such disrespect directed at me. It's not paranoia if people are out to get me.
My anger is easily roused, no thanks to the adrenaline rush that's kicked in sometime I don't know when. I don't think I'll ever get used to this feeling, really. No matter how many a time I've had to rely on it survives on the street as a child to survive everything with how high I've managed to prop myself up, and I take any and all threats towards my person seriously.
I'm not implying that you're mad. The occasional hallucination is a completely normal and human experience, as long as it isn't a repeat occurrence.
Oh, so what? That was a trick of the light? My imagination?
You haven't ingested any alcohol today, have you?
A valid question.
I am
but
not drunk.
In my state, I only realize how quiet Hannah has gotten when she doesn't joke about my debatable alcoholism. There is no clever quip or words of fond exasperation. She's only been watching me through all of this. And when I do notice that, I start feeling bugs crawling on my skin. When I didn't deign to speak further, fixated on the sensation, Johans cuts in.
Whatever the case, we need to establish tighter security. We should have done so from the start. If you were seeing things, then we got lucky. Had there been a real intruder, we were ill prepared.
Of course. I trust that you can hire the most qualified from the agency. Are you all right, Hannah? You seem disquieted.
I'm well, my love. I was just worried about how the hallucination brought you distress.
It wasn't a hallucination, I'm sure of it. But what can I do to prove otherwise?
It doesn't matter. You are safe, as am I. I overreacted.
Perhaps rest is necessary. It is late into the day, and you must be tired from your gardening.
Before I ask how she knew what I was doing, a small fond smile graces her lips before she brushes away a few yellow petals from my sleeve. But does it really look like I'm that exhausted? I'm sure to be well rested. Despite it all, it's not like I've done anything physically exhausting today. Beyond running here in a hurry anyway, no doubt I've led a trail of flowers in my mad dash. And I suppose I do look like a mess.
Rest sounds good. I guess I'll need to sleep a lot more than I thought. But I...
Nothing to worry about. I'm not so sure about that. Thinking any more about it isn't going to do anything.
Come on then, my love. Off to bed. I have been restless without you by my side.
Even then, I can't force away the uneasiness that settles over me. Sleep is hard to attain, and even Hannah's embrace does not help. She's still burning up. Monday. Really little sleep was had, and I felt completely drained come morning. Even when Hannah rises from bed, in spite of a mild fever, and invites me down to breakfast, I can't be bothered to drag myself out of the comfort of the sheets. It's not like I need to do something particularly important today. The rain that has started sometime during the night, does it help the mood? Okay, maybe it helps just a little. The strange sunny weather has been nice and all, but for the return as it should be feels like a good sign of things to come. Perhaps things will settle back to normal and the crazy drama that has gone on lately will die down. The rhythmic pitter-patter of the rain fills the early morning silence with a steady beat. Thank goodness I don't have anywhere to be in a hurry today. I would hate to be caught unawares in this rain. With how it looks outside, it seems like the weather is making up for all the sunny days it has given us a good old-fashioned downpour. It does let up within the quarter of an hour, however. A day beginning with a cloudburst like this, locals usually take it as an immediate sign. Luxbourne's abysmal weather is back, likely for good. I hope they did a damn good job of fixing this place because I'd rather not have to deal with leaky roofs. Though Hannah might find it humor in it and perhaps ask me to sing in the rain to wear out my anger. I don't like the idea that Realty did a horror patch job. Hannah technically paid millions for this place. It better live up to the price the Realty company sold it for. Not that it's something she should be fretting about at the moment when her health's not at its best. Hannah is going to be brought to the hospital for a checkup today, and if anything, I prefer she focus on getting better. That fever, no matter how slight it is, can't be good for her, with how odd with her odd behavior recently. You'd think she hit her head hard against something while I wasn't looking. Perhaps a proper rest is all she needs, but I'd rather not assume things. I'm a businessman, not a doctor. Wonder of wonders why I even bother agreeing to babysit duty at that. But here I am, scheduled as today's babysitter for Suarez's brat, once her father drops her off at the mansion steps, though that is a worry for much, much later. If I wish to, I can ask that nobody bother me while I doze off in a cocoon of comforters. But as always, somebody has to be a buzzkill.
Are you really going to stay in bed all day?
What do you want? It's far too early to deal with your nosiness.
You must have been really rattled by what happened yesterday. If you need to talk about it, I am quite qualified in that regard.
And you aren't even the slightest bit bothered. Truly, not even the slightest bit worried?
I was worried. But I realized that it's not my life in danger, is it? My worrying will not help matters. Neither will yours.
Loath as I am to admit it, he is right. The whole thing might have rattled me, but there is little point in jumping at every shadow I see from the corner of my eye. I shouldn't lose my head for a threat that might not even come. I should know better by now. But I've never been this worried about a possible threat on my life before. I'll be honest here. If anyone is in danger, it's Hana. I can take care of myself just fine. With security titans, I'll have at least one guard, if not 5, making sure nobody gets within 10 feet from me without my say-so. Hana, on the other hand, will be away for most of the day to get the fever checked. Upon my insistence, it is a small relief that Johan will be with her.
Are there any updates about the woman?
Being in the dark has me on edge. Information, any at all, may very well help me in calming down.
I've already briefed security about her, and more from the agency will be arriving tonight. But they haven't seen anyone fitting the description.
So you have nothing then? Fat lot of use you guys are. What do I even pay you for? Do me a favor. There's the door. Don't let it hit you on your way out.
Well, there is something. It's about McCulloch.
Can anyone blame me if I show the teensiest bit of interest? She's still not done with the house, and she's a nice enough woman. Plans to go back to sleep are gone.
I called her secretary about taking the day off. He hasn't heard from her over the weekend.
She's probably passed out after enjoying a pint or 2 or 10 in a bar somewhere. She's an adult. It was the weekend. She's allowed to disappear and not think about work. Fuck. I wish I was passed out after a night of drinking. He does know that mobiles are a thing.
That's all well and good, but she's not answering her mobile either. Mr. Parker will be filling a missing persons case with the police if she doesn't turn up today.
Certainly someone must know where she is. Tabs are kept without fail on people who come to work with me. Yeah, she's in your fucking cellar. Background checks and the constant surveillance until they finish their contracts with the rights. Some would say that it's a bit over the top, but I can't be too safe. Too many want
What about
me
one
dead.
of ours? Has anyone seen her? She's pretty hard to miss with how tall the woman is.
The last anyone has seen of her was here, the morning of the party. Your housewarming party.
That isn't good news.
It wouldn't do for the police to hear of this, and to suspect.
It's of little import that I can easily prove my innocence. It is all a matter of principle. Because even the accusation of misdemeanor should not stain my reputation, although maybe it is a bit too late to hope for a squeaky clean one. Besides, it'll be such a hassle to have police poking about the house looking for a body that doesn't exist.
Now, if we're done here, I'd like to go back to sleep and...
Where are you?
Well, there goes any plans of grabbing some shut-eye. Rolling over on my stomach, I can only scream into my pillow.
Of course, of course. Ugh! Johans, distract her.
Oh, look, it's time for me to go. Have fun with your little play date. So long, farewell, and auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.
No, Johans, don't you turn away from me. Keep her busy for an hour. Come on!
I have to press my face against the pillow once more to suppress a groan. You just can't get loyal help anymore.
Hello there, little Fraulein. Your uncle is just upstairs and will be down in a moment. He is super excited to have you today, so I hope you're well rested and ready to play a lot.
That bastard. I'll be down in a sec, Munchkin. Let me just...
Change into a fresh shirt, brush my teeth, fix my hair, bemoan my very existence, wish I was anywhere else in the world right now. You know, don't get me wrong, Kylie is a great kid, wonderful, better than most brats her age. But handling a tyke is the last thing I want on my agenda right now with this whole Hana business. Fortunately, I'm very well versed in how the world works. I've learned that the show must go on no matter what hurdles come in my way, so I set to preparing for the day. Running a comb through my hair is just divine and simply makes me feel more human. My hair is disgusting, though it isn't as bad now as it was when I was a child. With how expensive a trip to the barber's was, I often had to grow it out until Mother had time to cut it for me. The curls and tangles were simply horrid. Why I was even mistaken as a little girl because of that certainly doesn't help when I was named Lucille. Freshly pressed shirt is enough to chase away last signs of sleepiness. The feel of crisp, clean cloth in my hands is a clear marker of the day. But something catches my eye. My clothes and personal effects are already set on the dresser for the day. Boxers, trousers, belt, and socks on one side of my shirt, jacket and tie on the other. It's always the same things, always. Cufflinks, colognes, and anything else I would like to add stays in the dresser for me to choose from. It's all routine. However, among the silvers and the grays and the red is a tiny blue box.
Now, what is this?
The thing is small and light, fitting in the palm of my hand. Too big to be a ring box, but too large to be a watch box. Looking at it closer, it seems like one of those handkerchiefs used for wrapping. It's easy enough to untie the knot. An odd and quaint way to wrap up a gift, I suppose. Though presentation should be the last thing I need to worry about. Mail, packages, gifts, and the like are supposed to be vetted before they get to me. In the morning, Johannes would hand me a list of things I need to look over and go through, yet there was no forewarning of this. Immediately, I dropped the thing as if it burned me.
I shouldn't have touched that. I shouldn't have touched that.
It very well might have. Without security going over, it could be a nasty gift for me. I can still remember when a security guard died to contact poisoning that covered an innocent enough birthday card, for fuck's sake. But as the box hits the ground, it spills its contents. What I see makes my stomach turn. Oh, an eyeball still with the nerve ending. Oh, mucus and all pops the ground. I have to fight the urge to gag as it rolls, staring up at me.
That's sick.
Hey, it's Zach's eyes.
That is sick. It's still wet. My bloody fucking... That is disgusting.
Found Zach's eyes, guys. I'm not a stranger to being sent threats, but this has to be the first time I've been sent a body part, even if I don't do that. Even I don't do that. If there's no note or sign to as who may have sent it or how it got here. This is a thread. It's a piss poor way of doing it, considering it lacks proper planning outside of the shock factor that sends a body part affords them. Do I even know anyone whose eyes are the same shade? Not Hannah's. No, definitely not. They aren't as pretty and aren't the right color. Johann's? Mr. and Mrs. Lee? Suarez? McCullough? No, the color isn't familiar at all. Though, honestly, it's not like I'd take the time to memorize each and every person's eye. This could be anyone's, from a guard or a maid or one of the other hundreds of people I deal with. Kylie can't see this. Kid is tough, but this'll traumatize her. Wrapping the handkerchief that was used for wrapping, I try picking up the eyeballs to dispose of them. Emphasis on try. Contact, even with the fabric, has me gagging. The thought of squishing it and covering my fingers with the slick and slime of it made me recoil. But the slightest of touch is enough to make the eyeball roll towards the bed. And in my mad scramble to make a grab for it, it rolls away even farther under the bed until it is smack dab middle. There's just taunts me where it sits out of my reach, green iris fixed on me again, perhaps judging my poor attempts to
Hell with
get
it. I don't have time for this.
I wash my hand of this, quite literally, at that. Though I wish it isn't easier said. The nagging in the back of my head, the voice that tells me I need to be more cautious about this, refuses to push the matter aside. While it is true that it is a cause for concern, without demands or anything like that, worrying will do very little to help. Looking around the room, I try to see if any other presents have been left behind. To my relief, aside from the blue box, nothing else is out of place. The most I could do right now is alert the present security staff about this breach. Watch out for any other threats. If they have a message for me, they'll most likely send it with their next gift. Whoever has sent this eye, I would assume that it is more to shake me up more than anything else at the moment. It'll be best to act as this didn't happen. No need to make a child worry about it either. She doesn't need to know. Smoothing down my suit and my hair with a sigh, I steel myself for the horrors. The horrors that come with taking care of a child. While I try to forget that horrors that come in a box. Ha ha ha. That's right. And we will figure out what happens in the next episode.